Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome in. This is Logistically Speaking, episode 1, and we're happy to have you here. And this is RIM Logistics and our first attempt at a podcast in our new podcast room, and we're excited to get this going. As this episode 1, we're going to do our best to not have any technical difficulties or anything like that, but we're excited to have you here with us. And our idea is to cover the news, the trends, the tech, and have great guests for you every month. We're going to do this once a month and try to keep you up to date on the industry, try to give you 30 minutes or less of information about what the latest is, what's going on in logistics, and the plan is also to have a little fun along the way as well. It's not going to be all serious, cut and dry. We're not going to talk about tariffs for a half hour. We're going to have a great time. I'm Mike Esposito. I'm going to be your host. I've worked here at RIM for 21 years, and I'm a director of global sales. I have some media background too, which is why I'm going to be doing this, and I'm glad to do this. I'm excited to kick this off today with you. I want to introduce you to our first guest. We're going to keep it internal this week as we talk about 2025, the roller coaster of a year that it has been already here in the first half of the year and what we expect in the back half. To my left, Rob Mueller, RIM's president, and to my right, our executive vice president, Jason Steinke.
Awesome.
Thanks for
Mike.
having us, guys.
Yeah, and let me do a formal intro to you,
Thank
Mike. Let's really break this out since you're going to
Sure.
be here every time, and I'm only going to be here this time.
Please.
Probably. So before I do that, I want to say special thanks to two groups of people. Our employee team member, Sarah Pack, she will probably never get on camera with me on here to do this formally, but she has put this together and produced this, and I want to give her a special shout out. And I also want to give a special shout out to our IT team who helped us build this room from scratch. This has been in the making for almost a year. Pedro and the group, great job. We're excited to be hosting this. So thank you everybody who got us here. Mr. Mike Esposito, obviously college radio. You've been doing college radio. Started at U of I 1991, and you've built. So that was your passion. That was your background, right? Before you got to us.
Yep.
And showed your passion in logistics in 2005, right?
Correct.
So, and in 2005, we were lucky enough to find you and bring you on, and you have been at RIM for 20 years while still doing radio on the Score, actually.
Yes.
So if you're in the Chicago area and Midwest, you can listen to Mike on the Score. I don't know your schedule by heart, but I know you've done Cubs games, Bulls games, pre-games, post-games, right?
Yep.
All those things.
I am part-time, meaning when they need somebody, they ask, and if I can do it, I say yes.
Well, I think we're lucky to have you on driving our podcast with that background. And a lot of our employees and our customers, and hopefully our future customers, are sports oriented, so we'll tie some humor in that. You are also an avid Illinois fan, an Illinois graduate, right? You're a Chicago fan by heart. I have played many years of fantasy football against you. You are a fantasy football guru. I'm going to try to beat you this year. I've got a new strategy. I believe the AI could help people like me with fantasy football this year.
Hadn't thought of that yet.
Exactly. But you're also an amazing sales leader and RIM team member. So super pumped to have you be leading us on this going forward.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And everyone thinks that I should automatically be good at fantasy football because I'm in sports. That's not the case. It's not how it works.
But you're
everybody.
good. I watch you every year.
Well, we appreciate that. And thank you for the kind intro, Jay. So just to start, a very quick background about RIM. If you're our customer, you know this. We're a full-service freight forwarder, customs broker, and logistics provider, essentially. And if you're not, we ship, clear, track, and deliver your freight door-to-door with customer service, with milestones along the way, with communication along the way, and lots of customer service that I know our clients enjoy. We are approaching our 30th anniversary. We are broadcasting today from our new facility in Bartlett, which we just moved into, state-of-the-art facility, which has a podcast room. Who would have thunk it when your dad started the company all those years ago, Rob?
For sure.
That we'd be broadcasting from our office.
Never would have thunk it.
He never would have thunk it. So we certainly remember Bob and appreciate all that Bob and Sheila have done to help build RIM to this point, and these two guys as well. So as we get going and we talk about 2025, we talk about the roller coaster that has been. Rob, I'm going to start with you. The first half certainly with all the tariffs and the different trade things that have gone either positively or negatively, has been a first half of uncertainty and turmoil thus far.
Absolutely. You know what? Nothing could have been easier and run more smoothly. It's like nothing happened. As we finished 2024 and headed into 2025, I think a lot of people suspected that Trump may become the new president, and with that, there could be a change to the tariffs, right? So wherever you sat, whatever your political affiliation, there was certainly a possibility that Trump could take office, and with that, we could have a change in the tariffs. What that led to was RIM had a really robust first quarter. I think, certainly the United States had a really robust first quarter. Everything looked really strong, off to a good start, wasn't bad. And then we hit the second quarter, right? And the second quarter was a tale of a different world. And I would say, though, that as we finish off the first half of the year, what's interesting is that the overall GDP is really not too far off last year, right? I mean, it's holding steady. We're on a good trajectory, and with certainly the news that we had today, we have the opportunity to have a better second half of the year, and we'll talk about that more as we get into this further, Mike. But ultimately, it's been a severe roller coaster ride. All kidding aside, it has run. Certain businesses have been hit incredibly hard by this. There's a lot of people out there that are suffering because of the tariff and the lack of ability to make decisions and truly move forward on infrastructure decisions. It's a lot of companies that I work with have had to pause, right? So from a standpoint of what are we going to invest in, how are we going to invest, they've rolled into safety stock. So while we are having fun here today, and I want to have fun, I'm also aware that there's people watching this that their businesses have been impacted greatly.
Right.
And as is always the case in these situations, there are winners, there are losers, and ultimately there's a lot of businesses that are disrupted.
Yeah, and Jason, turning to you now, when we talk about logistics really being the front lines of the industry, we see things often 3 to 6 months in advance of where, Joe consumer and Jane consumer in America see it. So what are you seeing from the front lines of our industry, and what have we seen in the past 6 months that kind of shows us what's going to happen here in the back half of the year?
Well, you need to be a surfer first and foremost to ride. I mean, because if you're falling off your surfboard, you're just mad at the world, right? But truth be told, I think there were two sets of people that are in manufacturing distributing, right? There was one set that said, I'm going to front run and I'm going to beat this, whatever this was going to be in Q2. And they front loaded on the inventory to Rob's point, and they did that. And then we had the other set, which is really a 50-50 split. And they said, look, we're going to ride this however it is. We'll figure out. We're not going to front load our inventory. We're not that concerned. And then maybe some concerns have happened. And I would tell you coming in, and we'll talk a little bit more in a couple minutes about this second half trend, but I would tell you as we came out of really Q2, everybody had really subsided on shipping. And that included domestic. Domestic shipping rates were dropping down. Global shipping rates were dropping down, right, as we were kind of coming out. And there's been this noise of like, okay, now we've got inventory and trade talks are up. But if I just stop the meter at June 30th and don't go to July 1st, right, I think you saw these two paths, and they haven't, not one side is won. The front running path isn't like screaming replen because I front run, and the other path isn't like I'm going to go do what the other side is doing and completely bring in all my inventory. So you're still running two different sort of paths depending on what the company's philosophy is.
Right. And we just saw over the weekend, the president is overseas in Europe. There's a trade deal they announced, and a lot of the difficulty with us as the industry experts and logistics provider is we're having to inform our customers off of social media posts as opposed to what Customs is publishing. So it's kind of difficult, and I know, we talked about this a little with the EU deal. It sounds great, but 15% baseline tariff, but Customs doesn't publish that right away. We have to wait for this to become official, right, with all the details.
For sure. Our customers often look to us and they want us to, give that reaffirmation, and we want to give that. In fact, Rob and I just came out of a leadership meeting, and one of our leaders in sales is like, listen, I need this stuff faster for social media. And we're like, it's not published yet, dude. Like, calm down. And we had, it's why we were late. We were talking about this for 20 minutes. Like, do you go with the social media, or do you wait for Federal Trade Register to publish? Right?
Well, and it's funny because we had roundtables during the first half of the year with our customs compliance people, Kim Robke and Stacia Keegan from our customs compliance post. And back in January and February, when we first started talking about doing stuff, Kim, who's our director, was adamant, listen, we have to wait for customs to publish. We can't do things off of social media. And that quickly went out the window. That's not to say she's wrong. That's to say
you just can't wait.
You can't wait that long because people are hungry for the information. They see it out there. They want our opinion. They want to know what we're reading on this. So Rob, I know you attend a lot of leadership councils outside of RIM, presidents clubs, etc. What are you hearing from businesses, other businesses, in terms of the ability to plan and what they're waiting for or looking for before they do so?
Well, it's a great time for me to be on this podcast because I can take the position of we're still waiting for some big news this week,
That's
right? So the EU was decided over the weekend, but it's unofficial. We don't know exactly what that looks like, but it is good news, and most everyone's going to be excited about that news. China, we have the 90-day pause, and we think that there's probably a decision that's been made, but we don't know that, and we don't know where that's coming. In all likelihood, Canada and Mexico are going to be done this week and should come out with some positive news. That would be the expectation. You've got unemployment figures. You've got the reality that we have to talk about the Fed, and we have to talk about interest rates. There's a lot of news coming out this week, and a lot of that news is going to set the path for the second half of this year. Most businesses that I meet with feel optimistic for the second half of this year. Now, there is not, I'm trying to be safe here when I say this and make sure you cover it all. I wouldn't say that people are.
Safe. We're in the podcast.
I wouldn't say.
There's no rules here.
There's no rules.
I wouldn't say that people are overly bullish. I would say that people feel like there's going to be a level of consistency, that there's going to be, good business, regular business, some level, that they can count on and budget for. But nobody's feeling like it's going to be off the rails optimistic, and nobody's pessimistic either. I think that's maybe the more important news. I'm not hearing of anyone who's overly pessimistic for the second half of this year. So there are some factors. The economy's still running hot. The inflation is there. What's going to happen with interest rates and what's going to happen with some of these other things? RIM is fortunate that we work with a lot of industrial goods. We work with a lot of companies. We're not heavily reliant on retail. Retail may have a harder second half of the year from what we're seeing and what's going on, but the overall economy and the customers that RIM works with, we feel very bullish. I would say that it's going to be a good second half of the year.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed it from the front line, speaking personally with my own accounts. Mm-hmm. The more retail-centric ones are operating with a different set of rules as opposed to your more industrial ones. So we're certainly seeing that. And Jay, I don't know if you can elaborate on that, but what is our client activity and the different industries that we work in telling you about what's to come here? Yeah,
it's interesting. So I parked the line with you in the previous conversation at June 30th and said, stop there, right? Now let's go to July 1st. And the trajectory, we look at a lot of different things, but one of the things I focus on a lot is what we call new starts, right? Or new jobs, could be new bookings, could be new customs clearances. The world listening to this podcast will have different needs, but new starts for us is up double digits in July over June, right? Mm-hmm. And it's up over last year's July, which is really interesting because last year's July was quite significant in terms of trade and starts, right? And so what I think and I've got some smart people around me, I think the indicators would say, okay, forget like just retail, just look at the market in general. I think we're going to have a traditional peak. Mm-hmm. And for those of you that might be new to the industry, a traditional peak, I'm aging myself here, but the good news is Rob's older than me, just so we always know that. But, you would say a traditional peak was July, August, September, and really from the bookings and starts we're seeing and the projects that aren't even going to start until August, I think you're going to see this traditional peak. It may not be retail driven, but it will look like a retail-driven peak season coming through these next 3 months.
Well, and to build on that too, I know we saw a lot of our customers pause back in March and April when the tariff levels were over 100% specifically from China. And as soon as that initial deal was announced, which Rob was just addressing, that their hope is there's a continuation of that, you started to see a lot of bookings happen. So people might not like the 30% tariffs on the China goods, but it's better than 150 and they had to
Absolutely.
do stuff, right?
Yep.
Right.
And I think what we've heard from other people is in intelligence and just in our own logistics community is that 30% the manufacturers they're basically gonna eat that, right? That's not gonna be totally passed on to us as consumers. So that will lend into Rob's bullishness and the people that Rob's been talking to and working with from a just overall sentiment if it remains low at that point.
So Rob, to go to that, talk about second half now, going forward for the rest of the year sentiment, based on what Jason just said and based on what you're hearing. I know it'll be different for retail, right? Because consumers may see higher prices based off of increased of cost of goods from the tariffs. What do you expect, not just the logistics economy to look like, but the American economy? And obviously we're just asking your opinion here, but
Sure.
from your intel, what are you guessing this looks like?
Well, one of the things that we're privy to is the fact that a lot of companies are going to be able to take on some of this. The consumer is more debt-ridden than they've been in the past. The consumer is probably going to slow down on buying. That's what I'm hearing, right? And so on that side, the retail may not be bullish, it may not be overly robust in the second half of this year. But what really, the people who are hit the hardest are your low value, low margin companies, people that are passing on a product without manufacturing it or necessarily changing it. And those companies have been hit hard, and they are definitely reeling from this, and we want to be cautious, and empathetic to that situation. Some of the more high value, high margin companies are able to take on some of that and eat it, or a lot of people have the supplier take on a piece of that. But ultimately, there will be some additional costs in the marketplace, true. With that said, RIM Logistics, anything that was in infrastructure, some of the projects that the previous administration put in place, the bridges, the infrastructure, the ports, that's all already going on, right? And that won't stop. So if you're working in that sector, we're definitely very bullish about the growth in that area. And that's where the peak and some of the things that we're positive about are going to take place. That's not slowing down at all.
Yeah, no, and I think we're starting to see that, and we'll see what happens as we go forward here, as these deals or as these agreements are announced. I know this is a big week for all of that.
Big week.
So, Jay, as Executive Vice President for the company, and certainly as a veteran of the industry, as you prepare for that for the second half, for what we think is going to happen, how do you prepare for that, and what do you do in terms of not only staffing for RIM and objectives for the company, but how do you go about that?
Yeah, I think the main focus for us is really how do we help our customers in this trade compliance, right? Even if it fizzles out by the end of the year, we don't want to cut that short. In our sales meeting this morning, I said to the global sales team, I said, I don't think that as the agreements are reached, that tariffs fall out of of at least the USA system over the next 3 years, right? I think it's going to be a continued sort of, for lack of better words, weapon or tool that we use to negotiate, right? So for RIM, there's a few things we're doing. We're adding staff and training staff in a hired capacity around compliance, right?
It's almost shifting departments.
It's almost shifting departments. Right. Yeah, exactly. It's like I'm moving from one department to the other. Our compliance team at corporate, we're adding an individual out of an existing branch, right? And so the other thing is really around, for us, it's about tools, trade tools, right? So how do we get this into the customers where they can look up and see what the live tariffs are? They can have access to other countries that might have better duties, things like that. We'll have this out into the market by August 31st. It'll be at their fingertips. It'll be something that'll be highly useful for the customer market, or particularly the importing market. And then the other piece is, just a small added thing, but that we think will help in this is we're adding a bonded warehouse. We've been approved in Chicago. It opens August 4th. We can replicate this process in our other markets. And so for people that want to bring goods in and don't want to pay at that duty rate on that day, or pay for it all that comes in. So the point to all the things I'm talking about here rather quickly, right, is really about we're staying focused on this trade aspect more so than the transportation aspect at this time. Not to take anything away from the transport, but trade is where it's at. We want to be helpful and a knowledge base for both our existing customer and any potential customers that listening to this awesome podcast. Right?
That's right. And this is the very first episode of Logistically Speaking here. Mike Esposito, Rob, and Jason, our guests today as we close. And it's funny, too, because we always talk about being a prime resource for our customers and really driving home the value and the knowledge. I mean, customs compliance, which a lot of people probably ignored for many. I mean, it was just kind of there, right?
Yep.
And we've seen, especially since the pandemic, just how important the supply chain, and not only that, but the customs compliance piece of that is. So we will continue to do that. I know we have a department here headed by Kim Ropke that they more than earn their keep, especially this year, but it's become a huge part of what we do.
Absolutely. I mean, when we talk about pivoting with purpose and making sure that we stay relevant and being problem solvers, we have to be the first to communicate. We have to be available. We have to answer the phones. We have to be visible and present. I mean, everybody needs help, and they need you to be able to be visible and be an extension of their business. And if you can't do that, then you're not bringing any value, right? So that's where our greatest value lies. That's why you're shifting people from departments. What we did yesterday is not necessarily going to be successful tomorrow. We have to change, and if we don't evolve, we are part of the problem, right? So people talk about it, but at the end of the day, doing it is the hard part, and we're doing it, and you're doing it.
Yep, we are. We feel like we're in a good place to help people, and that's the bottom line on this particular very trying year, very trying topic of trade. I think we're in a great position to just help people. Keep it simple.
The roller coaster will continue, undoubtedly. We will be here to help take care of our customers and any non-customers, obviously. We're happy to talk to anybody, but we are trying to be your prime resource for that. And as we enter the second half of the year, that means football season,
Woo!
Jay.
Here
So
we go, buddy.
We've got some props here.
We got some props. We got to bring out our support. I got Mitch joining me today, right?
Jason is a diehard Michigan fan.
That's right. And Mike is an Illini fan.
I'm an Illini alum. You can see my extremely old Illinois hat that I got many moons ago. Rob is a Western Illinois Leatherneck, so we will excuse him from this conversation. So,
What do you mean, Rodney Harrison, Brian
That's right.
Cox? We had great players.
For sure. So Mike,
yes.
I mean, let's go. I have to give you props, right? Illini beat Michigan 21-7 last year. You got this loud but quality coach.
Yep.
He's kind of noisy, right?
Yep.
And you won the Citrus Bowl last year. You got like 15 returning starters. What do you really think about Illini football this year? You've known it your whole adult life. What are you thinking?
I will be honest with you. I'm afraid that I'm too optimistic, because I am optimistic about them.
Yeah.
Their quarterback is back for his third season. Luke Altmaier's the guy's name.
Yeah.
They have a lot of returning starters. They have a lot of momentum. Bielema is now in year 4 or 5, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Brett Bielema, the coach. So I'm very optimistic, which makes me nervous, because as an Illini fan and as Sarah Pack, our fine executive producer / marketing person here at RIM will know, expectations at Illinois, at least in football, usually means bad things. So
I actually did some research coming into today, and I was a little saddened that you look like the stars could align for you this year.
well,
right?
it could.
Could be a really good year for Illinois football. So I'm going to wish you luck in the best way I can by being a Michigan fan.
Well, and hey, listen, I don't mind Michigan. I was a Harbaugh fan, although he's not there anymore.
Yeah.
I like J.J. McCarthy. He's from here. He's not there anymore.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, now I'm excited about Michigan. I think Michigan's the sleeper here's a storyline that for people that are on, because we have some customers in Ohio. I think Ohio State has the cleanse that Michigan had this year. I think Ohio State fans they lost all the Hollywood stars to the NFL, and you're going to watch Ohio State fall from glory as Michigan did, and then you're going to watch the Illinois and Michigan come up, and it's going to be a different showcase, I think. So
I'm excited for it. We'll talk about Caleb and the Bears maybe next month.
Yeah.
But Rob, do you have any college thoughts you'd care to share with us here?
Not really. Enjoy.
Well, listen, the new NIL, the name, image, likeness money is coming in. I think you guys are paying your quarterback like $10 million or something.
10.5 for
Whatever
Bryce
it is.
Underwood. Yeah, I mean, I actually think it's funny that you brought that up to close this out, since we're talking about there's this sleeper, because you're such a sports fan, right?
Yeah.
And you know it. Mikey Keene, we took him in the transfer portal, right?
Yeah.
And Mikey Keene has come over. This guy's thrown 65 touchdowns in college, 8,245 yards. Everybody's looking at this incoming freshman, Bryce Underwood. I'm predicting that Mikey Keene comes in and actually wins the starting job. And then what they did with J.J. McCarthy, who worked out to be awesome, was this freshman year, he was like in every 3 sets of plays. And I think the nil deal will come around. So I think I'm looking for 2 good years instead of the fall from stardom after a good year.
Well, and I'm sure you remember because you're a fan. Tom Brady, when he was at Michigan, was a part-time starter, right?
That's
he
right.
Never was a full-time
That's
starter.
right.
So if the GOAT could be a
I
part-time
know,
starter, then
and a backup.
There you go.
At New England before he got it. So yeah, looking forward to some football. I hope that this podcast has some football talk in it every time, and I'm really going to try to beat you in fantasy this year.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. We appreciate having you guys on. Jason Steinke, Rob Mueller.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you. Great job, Mike.
Thank you. My pleasure. So that's it. That's episode 1. We didn't make any huge mistakes, hopefully, and we'll keep rolling forward. Next month, again, once a month, we'll be doing this. It's called Logistically Speaking. Keep you up to date on what happens in our industry and around the world and have some fun along the way. Thanks again to Sarah Pack for putting this all together. Thank you, Rob.
Nice.
Thank you, Jason. And thank you for watching. And we'll see you next month.
Thanks, everybody.